Welcome to Dan ARG YouTube. Uyi Osunde don't bring very interesting topic for us today. Now about worship, the things where human being they worship. He talk about Christianity, paganism, so many things when you talk for this topic when you bring come. Make I leave you now with Uyi Osunde, make you hear the message. Enjoy the video.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, welcome, and welcome. Welcome and welcome, welcome. Okay. Yes, good evening, everybody, and welcome. This is Uyi Osunde here. I want you to please share this video right now so that others can come and join us as we discuss issues relating to our spirituality. Today's discussion, we shall be talking about paganism, Christianity, and the evolution of worship. How worship began from humanity, how what we call today religion, how it all began, how human beings evolved towards embracing religion and through paganism, and eventually how it culminated into Christianity. And today, as around the globe, there is still confusion about what paganism is, what Christianity is, and what religion is per se. You know, even today you see a lot of people say, I'm not religious, even though they are Christians or they are pagans or they worship one deity or the other. So you hear them saying they are not religious. And I also find myself also proclaiming that I'm not a religious person. I often say I hate religion, even though I am a very astute Christian. You see, we have to look at what is really religion and what is really paganism, and what is African traditional religion. You see that a lot of people will tell you, I don't like Christianity. I'm a traditionalist. I worship my ancestral deities. You know, that is what some people they claim. Some people don't like Christianity. Some worship Ogun or Romila, Shango, and what have you. So how did this worship, this religious worship come about? How did they come to fall in love with paganism? And you also see some people telling you that Christianity is an imported religion. It's a religion that is imported from from Europe. No, they tell you that it's a white man's religion, that Christianity is a religion of the slave master. Christianity is a religion of people that oppressed you. So this, you see people with such comment. So and sometimes, if you are not well informed, you don't really understand what this is all about. So sometimes we are carried about with every wind of doctrine. Every whoever argue the most wins the day. So today I want us to really look at religion in total. I want us to look at paganism, and I want us to understand that paganism, or what we in Africa or in Nigeria, in Benin, what we term as traditional worship or African traditional religion, is actually not an African traditional religion. You know, a religion that is found in more than one particular region, and it was not exported. You believe that religion is not just indigenous to such people. Okay, so I want you to understand that when people claim, for example, that that they worship Ogun, for example, and I used to tell most Edo people, that the worship of Ogun deity is alien to the people of Benin Kingdom. That Ogun deity is not indigenous to the kingdom of Benin, but I think it came into the kingdom by influence. So, and unfortunately, our people, they tend to be a people that kind of like foreign things. Benin people generally like foreign things. Anything that is foreign, whether it comes from abroad, whether it comes from Ghana, whether it comes from Lagos, whether it comes from Onitsha, as long as it's coming from outside the domain of our own our place, our people tend to love such things. And and it is, if you look at it today, I used to tell people that I don't know, people, for example, when they love to speak Yoruba, if they visit, if for example an Edo man or Edo woman and travel to Lagos, for example, and they have their kids there, you will be surprised by the time they come to visit, their children will not even speak Benin. They will either speak Yoruba and English. And the same thing happens when they travel to the north. Now, the same thing is playing out today when they travel abroad. You see our sisters bringing their children back home to visit home. These children cannot even speak. Some of them don't even speak the normal lingua franca, not to talk of the native language, which is Benin. So you see them, some of these children speaking Italiano, some speaking German, some speaking Spanish, some speaking diverse languages that is being spoken in their own environment. We have a flair for liking foreign things, and I don't know why it is that. If you look at our culture, our attire, for example, people they don't like putting on Benin traditional attire. You see them, especially the men, especially our men. If you look at it, you see our men, whenever they dress traditionally, they will now top up with a Yoruba cap, or an Hausa cap, or an Igbo cap, any cap that is not indigenous to us. So it is something that is very common. So the same thing happens in the area of religion. So you see that a normal Edo people, an average Edo man, like foreign religion. Whether it is Shango is originated from Yoruba land. Ogun originated from Yoruba land. It's only even Ifa, Oromila is Ifa, originated from Yoruba land, and they have these pantheons all are not indigenous to our people. But that is not to say that we did not have our traditional worship. We did have our traditional worship, which I think in Benin Kingdom they have what they call Azenu. They have what they call Ziza. No, they have, and every other so most villages. If you go to villages in the rural areas, you see that every village has their own deity, like a Bomisi from Ugo, and different deities. I mean, peculiar, like, okay, they like Uronigbe now, they worship the river. So the river deity, though the river deity is now known as Olokun, because Olokun, according, though there are two versions of it, the Olokun deity, there is a version that says it was started by Ikalanderan when he went to Ugoton and saw the Okun River, which is the sea. So he started worshiping, introduced the worship of Olokun. But if you look, I think the Yoruba also have a deity, the worship of the river goddess. So I don't really know if the Yoruba actually copied the worship of the river goddess from Benin Kingdom, but I know definitely that it is only the Olokun that I can remove from other imported religion into Benin Kingdom. So yeah, somebody is saying Oguname. Yeah, these are all I'm talking about. Today we have Oguname, we have too many, we have a lot of deities, but originally they were not there. A lot of them came into existence in a later date. All right. So what the Beninese actually worship from time immemorial was actually what we known as Osagbaye. Osagbaye. That Osagbaye is like, it was a representation of the worship of the Almighty God, which they worship with everything white. They believe that God is pure, and to worship God you have to worship God in purity. It's like what the Bible is talking about. They that worship God, they must worship Him in spirit and in truth. But back then they were worshiping God in purity, and to worship God in purity, they have to get a white dove without speckle of color. They have to get white cloth. They have to get what this is a cane they call unweriontan. They will remove the bark of the cane and use white chalk to paint it. They will get coconut, because they said the inside of the coconut is very white and pure. The coconut water is pure. So even the brown part of the coconut, which is the outer shell, they will not, before they even put it in the Osagbaye shrine, they have to paint it with white chalk, the white orue, mixed with water. They use it to rub it, and it will dry, so that everything will be pure white. This is what I know that the Beninese were actually worshiping at a time. To them, it was a representation of the Almighty God. But all these things are all later evolution. Human beings evolve to a point where they begin to think that God is this, or there is the God up there which we must represent with one thing or the other. But there are deities like Ogun or Romila. They are not representations. They are deities in themselves. You know, the bus stops at them. I mean, the bus stop, the worship stops at the shrine. They don't. They are the only shrine that the only shrine that I know that they send message back then was the Esu shrine. Esu shrine, they normally, when they are appeasing Esu, they are using Esu to Esu is the representation of the evil, or of the devil. Let's call it the devil. But in the Benin traditional worship, they look at it as the avenger the avenger. If somebody offends you, or you want to kill somebody, or you want to put bad luck on somebody, it is the Eshu shrine they go to, and they now ask Eshu to bring misfortune to this person, so that the other gods can deal with that person. For example, there's some prayer they used to pray at the shrine of Eshu, say where Nesusuae ne ogungbe. No, so according to them, Eshu does not actually kill, but it brings misfortune. And if they want to kill somebody, or they want somebody dead, or as a result of revenge, so they now ask Eshu to push. They would now ask Eshu to push the person to Ogun deity, so that the Ogun deity will kill the person. So this is how what I understand about this worship, this traditional worship. But the truth of the matter is this. Please, you are welcome. If you are just joining us, please, first of all, I want you to share this video. And as we are sharing, I also want you to invite others to come and join us and listen. We are talking about paganism, Christianity, and the evolution of worship. Paganism, Christianity, and the evolution of worship. So I now ask a question: what is African traditional religion? What do we understand by it? You know, when you worship Ogun, Shango, Oromila, Azenu, Eziza, whatever, is it Ayelala now? Ayelala is there. I think is a deity. I think they have Osupika is a deity. So they have different deities that they worship. But in the evolution of mankind, these are all later inventions. They are all later inventions. One thing we should understand about evolutionary religion is that man was looking to fill the void, the spiritual void. There was an emptiness. You know, the creation, the creation is so vast. Creation is so wide to a point where human beings begin to did not understand creation at all. Just even we of today, the generation of the 21st century, we are still very much out by the created, I mean, by the cosmos, by what has been created by God. We are still very out. Even scientists are still lost. The whole cosmos, scientists, even upon all the scientific advancement, we have not been able to get up to 5% understanding of creation. So just imagine today, the human beings of today, we are still lost about creation. So just think back to like 1,000 years ago, how those people were thinking about creation and God and whatsoever they are seeing and all the phenomena. Okay, let's go back further to 2,000 years ago. Or you could go back further to when Abraham was in existence. Or let's go back to Adam. You know, but even now we could even go further back before Adam. We could go further back before Adam. So I know some of us that are ardent Bible readers or believers, they who believe that human culture started with Adam. But personally, I believe human culture started before Adam, and maybe someday we'll discuss that. Adam was not actually the first created man. So, but Adam was the first created dispensational man. There was a dispensation. It was the creation of Adam set the pace for a new creation. Just like the coming of Jesus Christ set the pace for a newer creation. So just as Adam was, so Jesus was. So Jesus was not the first man created, but he was the first man created that have access to the spirit. I mean, to that have the spirit of God indwelling. You have the spirit of God indwelling. So the Adam was actually the first man that had the soul of God indwelling. So those are all, we're going to discuss that on another time. But today, I want us to understand that what we call worship today, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Mohammedanism, whether it's Hinduism, Confucianism, Krishna consciousness, what they call it, what other religion is there? We have El Kanka, we have, there are countless and countless and countless religion out there. Why are there so multiple religion? Because there is a vacuum in man that man is searching to fill. There is a vacuum in man that man is looking for. No, God created man and hid himself in man. And man is searching for God outside. Man, because of the nature of because they were very primitive at the onset, they did not understand anything. So they were very, very fearful. They were very, very fearful. So this primitive religion had a biologic origin, and with a natural evolutionary development. So the higher animals. First of all, you must understand that human being is an animal. Okay? Human being is an animal. You got to understand that. Though it's an animal with latent minder and spiritual power. The minder power was latent. The spiritual power was latent. That is, they were inherent, but they were not active. Okay? This power were inherent. They were not active. So, when man was created, man began to develop and observe. So man is an animal, but it was a higher animal, and they have fears, and they have fears because of what was happening. So man decided to create. Man created these primitive religions out of fear. The earliest religion was created out of fear by means of illusions. In the evolution of human species, and worship in its primitive manifestations appeared long before the mind of man was capable to formulate anything, because the whole thing was complex. Common rain is a problem to them because they wouldn't understand. Today you can know that. Today the 21st century man knows that the formation of rain. We know that because of the heat that comes down to the earth, it heats up the water. Then the water turns to vapor and ascend and form a cloud and condense and fall down again. We can understand that today, but the ancient man do not understand why there is rain, and why suddenly the rain will stop falling, and why after some time it will continue fall without the rain will continue to fall without stopping. So it was a problem for an ancient man. So we should understand this, how all these things begin to formulate. So for example, if there is rain, maybe a torrential rain, and the current carries a child in the primitive time, they will not know how to understand that. So they will now attribute it to probably that God is angry with them. That is why he sent the rain to take the child away. So they'll begin to fear the rain and begin to reverence the rain. So I'm just using that as an example. So early religion was wholly intellectual in nature and was entirely predicated on associational circumstances. It was not like they just decided to start worshiping anything. No, it was circumstances that was happening around them that made them to begin to worship what they were worshiping. That they started worshiping out of fear. They started worshiping what they worship out of fear. So the object of worship were altogether they consisted of nature which were close at hand. That is why you see that the people worship what is in their surrounding. People worship what surrounds them. You have some people worship animals, some worship rivers, some worship plants, some worship trees. So you cannot worship what is not in your domain. Okay, for example, now if you go to the Sahara Desert, among the Tuareg, ancient Tuareg, I'm not talking. Remember, when I'm not talking about the present people. I'm talking about the primitive people. The primitive people before the understanding of who God is. They were worship. They can only worship something that exists in their environment. So their worship was not actually universal, though it can be repeated in different quarters out of the same fear. For example, I was thinking about if you go to the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert, they have sand and they have rocks. So it will be difficult for somebody in the Sahara Desert to worship tree or to worship a river. All right. So what they can only worship is what is prevalent in their environment. For example, if because they have rocks, mountains in that terrain, you see that when, for example, there is a volcanic eruption. When there is a volcanic eruption, it will just imagine how an ancient man will think in the midst of volcano, or when there is an earthquake. So they will definitely think that this is the acts of God, or they could either that they attributed that even the rock is the God, not even that there is a God up there. No, in the earlier time they were thinking that these objects were the deity, because they were inanimate objects. Suddenly they started moving, and suddenly, for example, there is a outburst of lava from a volcanic eruption with all the fire, liquid fire, molten fire. You see that the ancient man will be so afraid that they will be forced to worship that mountain, so that it will, after it has cooled down, so that it will not erupt again. For example, somebody having farm very close to the mountain, and the lava spread throughout the farm, destroying all the farms. You will discover that these people, they will think that for one thing or the other, because of one sin or the other, that is why the deity, which is the rock, got angry and burnt their crops. So this is how this whole thing started. Okay, so the first worship actually started with the worship of stones and hills. The first worship started with the worship of stones and hills. So that, what I want us to, why I'm bringing this topic is because some of our African brothers and sisters think that they own traditional worship. They think that they own the worship of iron, the worship of sea, the worship of the sky, the worship of thunder. No. They never own it. No, whatsoever they are worshiping in Africa today, the European also did. There is no worship that is happening in Africa today that the European never did. There is no sacrifice that is happening today that the Europeans never did. So the fact that you are doing it today, it just means that you are late in catching up, because the world is evolving. I believe in evolution. I believe in evolution. So the world is evolving. The world is moving forward, and the world is progressing. Okay, the world is progressing. There is a law of progress at play in the universe. So, and the world is going to continue to progress. It is a continuous thing. It's not going to stop. Okay, it's not going to stop. The world is going to continue to progress. It's going to move higher and higher and higher. So, the more the world progresses, the more things change. But when you hold to the old for too long, you will be left behind. Just the way African is being left behind in technological advancement. Africans are being left behind in education, in science, in engineering, in many aspects of life. Africans are being left behind. Why? Because they like to hold to the past. Africans like to hold on to the past. They feel that the worship of, traditional worship, it's their property. No, it is not your property. The Ogun you worship today, some people worship Ogun 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago and left it behind. The river you worship today, some people worship it millions of years, hundreds of years, thousands of years ago and left it behind. Because the more you progress, the more life evolves, the more understanding, the more you left things behind. That is why Jesus said, not Jesus, Apostle Paul said, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, everything become new. When old things pass away, you are supposed to have a new idea, a new thought pattern, a new way of reasoning, a new way of seeing life. So don't hold to your the religion you are owing to today. Somebody worship it more than you. Human sacrifices, animal sacrifices, they were all prevalent in Europe, in America, in Asia. Even some people are still doing it to tomorrow. So it is not the property of Africans. So when people begin to shout, this is our traditional religion, I wonder how something that somebody did thousands of years before, the ancestors, they woke up when they saw newer revelation, when their mind expanded and they saw new things and they embraced new things. You are still holding on to such a thing. That, for me, I see it as backwardness. There is also another religion called atheism. Atheism, people who are atheists, or America call them atheists, who they say they don't believe in the existence of God. That everything, you are just, everything just happen and just happen like that. These are also people who are unable to activate their mind. It is a very, very difficult process to activate your mind, to begin to think. It's easier to just relax and say, everything just came to be like that. Because if you take common plant and study photosynthesis, the process by which green plants manufacture their food, you will understand that God is at work. Just plant. If you take your own or any animal respiratory system, the respiratory system, and study how respiration comes, how oxygen comes in, how carbon dioxide comes out, and that oxygen that went in is converted to carbon dioxide. Then you take another oxygen in and exhale carbon dioxide. If you look at the process, you will know that something is at play. There is an intelligence at play in all these things. So this is one thing I want us to get straight. So the early and the primitive men, the primitive humans, started their worship out of fear and out of chance. So the first object to be worshipped by evolving man was a stone. Stone. Even to today, do you know that people still worship stone? The first thing to be worshipped by man was stone. And today people are still worshiping stone in India. Even in Nigeria, people are still worshiping stone. They are still using stone to represent, there are some, even some major religion are still worshiping stone. Some of them still worship stone. Some people still, some religions still use stone to they stone the devil. Some religions still put their hand, like for example, the Islamic religion. I think they use stone to stone the bigger stone. I don't know. I think there's a big stone in Mecca that they go around. Okay, but they will tell you they don't worship it. But okay, we believe then that they don't worship it. But they take the smaller stone and cast it to stone the devil. So they will tell you they don't worship it. But whatsoever they do, the stone is involved in their worship. Okay, so there's a tribe in a Khetri tribe in southern India where they worship stone. They worship stone as we speak, and stone was the earliest object of worship. Even to the point, even Israel. Do you remember that Jacob, when Jacob slept in Bethel, when he wrestled with, according to him, he wrestled with an angel, and he put a stone to build. These stones were venerated. He even anointed that stone. So that is to tell you how much people still take this kind of worship from beginning. They are still worshiping the stone. Stanley said the first thing humans start to worship was God. Well, thank you for that, Stanley. Well, that is what you think. If you can just listen, you will learn. Sometimes you need to read wide. You need to read wide. You do not just need to read one book and just sit down there. Read wide so that you understand what life is. So, stone was the first object of worship. I'm talking about primitive man. Then, the reason why they started worshiping stone was because of erosion. When suddenly maybe they till the ground, they see stone inside, they don't understand. When there's erosion, after erosion washed the surface, they will see stone. They don't understand how the stone suddenly appeared. So these were the things that were causing curiosity in the mind of men. So stone greatly impressed them. So that was, then after the worship of stone, the next thing they worship now was hills, mountain. They worship mountain. Like I was using the earthquake, the volcanic eruption to give you example. So that one put fear in them. So the worship of hills and large stone. For example, if you look at the Zuma Rock, in Abuja, you have been walking on land, and all of a sudden you see a rock, a very large rock, and no other rock close to it. You don't know how it came about. There is no river close by, so it to them it is very, very awesome and wonderful. So creator or deities, because they don't, when we're talking right now, there was no, the concept of creator was not actually in existence. So the deity, something bigger than them, was a deity. Anything bigger than them was something to be venerated. Anything that is that is more powerful than them at that time, they venerate it, they worship it. So it became a custom to believe that the gods inhabited the mountains, so that high elevations of land were worshipped for some reasons. You certain mountain, even later you discover that mountains are worshipped. Even it was a common, during Abraham time, you will see Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai. So everything that they were doing then was related to mountain. So they have to go to Mount Carmel during Prophet Elijah. He went to Mount Carmel. He was staying in Mount Carmel. So mountain became venerated. There were, in the later days, they now believe that mountain, because of the elevation, they are closer to God. When evolution, when they begin to evolve higher, when they begin to understand that God was in the sky, so they believe that the higher you go, the closer you are to God. So for any sacrifice to be made, they have to climb to the mountain and make that sacrifice. That is in the later part. But in the early days, the mountain itself was venerated and seen as a deity. You understand that? The mountain itself was seen as a deity and it was venerated. And they were also worshipping caves. The reason, in the later time, they started worshipping caves because at this time they believed that God was living in the mountain. They also believed that the primitive believed that caves led to the underworld with evil spirits and demons. So they used to appease the caves so that evil spirits and demons will not come and attack them. So I'm talking about way back, even before the advent of Ogun, before the advent of, remember Ogun is, you have to mine the iron and before it becomes Ogun now. So you have to mine iron, melt it. So I'm talking about way before engineering, way before that technology of iron mining and all that. So the natural phenomena were venerated and worshipped. Okay, so they worship the stones, they worship the mountain, they worship the hills, and they worship the caves. They believe that the caves were where the demons stay, where bad spirit stays, and so because caves is very fearful, cave and tunnels, very fearful with bad stench. You see that there were a lot of somebody says sun. Yeah, they worship the sun. They worship the sun later. I'm talking before the worship of the sun. They started with the worship of the stone. They started then with the worship of the hills and mountain and cave. So even before the worship of the sun, they started worshiping plants. They started worshiping plants, trees. They were afraid of plants because when they started worshiping it because of the intoxicating liquors which were derived from plants. So when they eat, there were some plants that were very intoxicating, and the ancient man did not understand why such a plant will intoxicate them, will change their way of behaving, will change the way they were acting. So, or like for example, just imagine an ancient man or the first tribe that discovered marijuana. and maybe they burn the marijuana in the farm, and they inhale the smoke, and they started behaving in a certain way. Fear will overwhelm them, because they will think that they have done something wrong for that plant to deal with them. So they started venerating plants, and when they eat some certain fermented plants, or drink some concoction, and they begin to have dizziness or intoxication, they will begin to have fear. Even do you remember that they believe that Corinthians believe that in the intoxication rendered one divine. They believe, because intoxication gives you different kind of intoxication. Some people, when some people drink or they are intoxicated, some fall asleep, even if they don't want, somebody who cannot sleep normally will fall asleep, or some people will forget their sorrow according to them, or some people will be energized to do what they normally will not do. Some people will be emboldened to do what they were not where they normally they will not do. So they felt that there were spirits in these plants that were empowering them. Even to this day, these modern times, alcohol is still known as what? Alcohol is still called spirits. Some like whiskey, brandy, gin, akpeteshi, it's still called spirit. Do you understand? Because yes, it changes their mental status. It's because it changes their mental status. They do not understand why they begin to think like that, because they are human beings are weak creature, and your will is your highest instrument, is your highest gift from God, that you can do what you want to do. But with this alcohol, or with these intoxicating drinks, their will is suppressed by something external. So which means that something external, according to them, was bigger than themselves. So that was why they were worshiping it. Something external, bigger than themselves, that could control you, control your will. What you will to do, you do not do anymore. You go and do something else. So something that could push you to do something that you don't want to do, something that thing is bigger than you. So that was the mentality then. So that was why they were worshiping the plant. And another thing is that what make ancient man afraid too is, for example, you eat, they see fruits in the bush, then they pluck the fruit, they eat it, and they had share that they could not eat because it's hard. Wow. Don't know what happened. Hello. Sorry. Give me a sec. Yes, good evening, and I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my phone. They said it was too hot, so it was just turned off automatically, and I couldn't access it. Sorry about that. Still having the issue. I don't know why. So, good evening, everybody. Okay, thank you, Nessie Flash and Moragbon. Thank you for waiting for me. I do hope some of them will still come back so that we'll conclude this teaching. I'm sorry, they told me that my phone was too hot, so it just went off. So, like I was saying, we now understand why they feared, why they were so much afraid of plants and begin to worship, because it was making them to behave the way they didn't want to, and they believe that anything that can control human being is higher than human being. So that was how they started worshiping the particular plant where they derive such spirits from. So another thing that I already explained, CC Jolly. I'm sorry, my phone got hot. This iPhone thing, they said it's too hot, so they turn it down. They just turn it off. I don't know. Let me circulate the fan so that probably it will. So, okay. So if the fan is oscillating, so it could. Okay. All right. Now the another thing that was making them to wonder was how you could eat fruit, throw it away. After some time, it began to sprout. It began to sprout. That they didn't understand the mechanism behind germination. Why would you throw something out away and it begin to germinate as if there is power in itself? So it was a big thing. It was a big problem for them. So definitely, it's not all plant that could sprout, but anyone that could sprout and become a big tree, and this tree outlast them, so it became an object of worship. So that is another thing that happened to them. So tree worship, even as we speak, is still very, very much prevalent among Africans. Okay? Africans still worship tree today, till tomorrow. And these are the same Africans that will tell you that it is their traditional religion. How can it be your traditional religion when it did not originate from you, when you are not the only people that practiced it, and where there are people who are practicing all over the world, and a lot of people practiced it and discarded it thousands of years ago, and they have embraced the new. They have embraced the new. God is unfolding every day. What we knew about God 20 years time is not what we are knowing about Him today. God keep on revealing Himself to us. There are so many things that is being revealed today that you cannot even find in the Bible. You see, that is where religion has even held some people bound. So some people, that anything that they do not find in the Bible, they will not believe. These are people who are held back. They are held back to, though they do not worship tree, they don't worship stone, they don't worship whatsoever the African traditional, but they worship a book that was published, that was written by people, compiled by some people many years ago. Although this book, which is called the Bible, contains some truths, many, very many truths, but it does not contain the ultimate truth, because the Bible is too small to contain God. The Bible is too small to contain all that God can do. God is revealing Himself every day in His creation, both in the Bible, both in your life, both in the atmosphere, in the environment. God reveals Himself, His nature, His character every day. But some people, anything that is not in the Bible, there is nothing you will say that they will believe. All right. So that is one of the problems we are having. So that is how people started worshiping trees. Many plants and trees were venerated because of their real or fancied medicinal power as well. If the peradventure somebody is sick and they take leaves from a particular tree, and it cures the person, that tree becomes an object of worship. Some people are still doing it tomorrow, even in our African setting. So it is like that. So the savage there, the primitive man, believed that all chemical effects were due to the direct activity of supernatural forces. They do anything. They do not understand what is chemical. So they don't understand chemical. So they know that when they take this thing, there is an effect. Because of the effect they have from it, definitely there is a power behind it. Do you know, even to today, some people tell you there are medicinal power in leaves and there are spiritual power in leaves. Yeah, there is a particular leaf in Benin. It's called Iyeke Bezukbe. Iyeke Bezukbe. It's a very small leaf. I think they call it a stone breaker in English. Very small plant. It grows everywhere, even in your compound. I have a lot of it in my compound. It grows among the fields. So that Iyeke Bezukbe, it's good for kidney stone medicinally. If you grind it, you or chew it or whatever, it's good to cure kidney stone. But there are some people that believe that that Iyeke Bezukbe has some spiritual power to ward off evil forces. That if you're traveling, for example, if you are going on a journey, if you pluck the leaf and chew it, if there's going to be an accident on the way, it will happen before you get there or after you have crossed that place. So they believe such leaf has medicinal and spiritual power. This is the same concept that was derived from the primitive religious practice, and it is still imported into the 21st century. You know, so that is how tree worship of tree started, which is very, very much prevalent today. Even the savage believe that the idea of spirits, varies greatly from tribe to races. Yeah, to race, depends on the tribe and the race. Everybody have different belief concerning a particular tree. You understand? So some believe that some trees, that spirits live in the trees. Other harbors the that some that the spirits are cruel. Some say the spirits are deceptive. Even in those days, the Finnish, the people from Finland, in the ancient Finland, not the present Finland, they believe that most trees were occupied by evil spirits. Ancient Finland believed that trees are occupied by evil spirits. Then in Switzerland, the ancient Swiss believe that there is long mistrusted trees that contain tricky spirits. That every long trees contains spirit that plays tricks. So I'm talking about ancient Swiss people and ancient Finnish people. So for example, the inhabitants of India and ancient Russia, they regard the tree spirits as very, very cruel. They say the tree spirits are very, very cruel. Even the Semites still worship trees till tomorrow. Africans, they are still worshiping it. So even many countries that stop the worship of trees, but they now put their deities in the forest, because they believe the spirits are still in the forest. So there are some, like, the common Igbo forest in Igbo land. They believe that spirits are living in that forest, so they worship the forest. Now, instead of worshiping now one particular tree now, they worship the group, the whole combination of trees in the forest. So, then after the worship of stone and of hills and of plants, they started the worship of animals. The worship of animals. So, why am I'm bringing these things so that Africans should know that the world is moving on. The world is progressing. The world is marching forward. The evolution is not waiting for nobody. The development is not going to wait for you. If you like, you cling to one traditional religion which does not actually belong to you. If you like, you cling. The world is going to move on. There is nothing you have done as a traditional worshipper today that the Europeans have never done. There is nothing. Even Africans, they learn from where Europeans. If you've seen the atrocity that has been committed in the name of religion in Europe, you will be baffled. Remember the Aztec in America. The Aztec, how many human beings they used to sacrifice every year for human sacrifices. You know, when it's just that when they saw the light after when the European left all these practices, they were now trying to tell us that there are better ways to approach God. We were resisting. We were resisting them. And they came and they saw human sacrifices in Africa, and they started acting as if they never did the same. They did. It's even in the Bible. Even Yahweh asked Abraham to sacrifice his son, and it was not even strange to Abraham. Abraham did not, because it is something that was common in that time. Even the child that was supposed to be sacrificed did not even fight his father. Even when the father was binding him hands and legs, he did not even struggle. He did not even fight his father, because it was a practice that was common, that they knew. The human sacrifice was common, very, very common, even in Israel or even in the ancient Jew. So it was not like it's something that is peculiar to Africa. I don't know why so many Africans are holding on to it as if it is their birthright. Look, even Christianity that we are practicing today, have you not seen that it's evolving? Have you not seen that more truths are coming out? Have you not seen the debates about tithe, no tithe, and tithe? As you not see the debate that is happening, whether baptism by water immersion or by sprinkling of water? Are you not seeing debate about there is prophecy or no prophecy, there is healing or no healing, speaking in tongues or not speaking in tongues? So these things are all coming out. Then, when in the midst of all this confusion and all this discussion, the truth of it will come up, and the whole church will move to the next level of the truth of God. Even that less level, in another 500 years, even 100 years, more truth will be revealed, because God is too big to be understood and to be static. Nobody can say you don't know God finish. And nobody can boldly say, God cannot be, unless when that thing is associated with evil. If it's associated with evil, you know that God cannot be associated with evil. But when there is no evil in that thing, you cannot say that Nadia God end. You can't say it, because God reveals in stages. Because there are things where God is revealing today that we are knowing today that the ancient man may not have understood at all. Ancient man would not have been able to understand it, because they were not in a point where they could get some certain things. So there are certain things today that God still cannot reveal to you, to us, because we can't get it, we can't picture it. Our mind cannot even capture it. even as we speak, as intelligent as we think we are, as advanced as we think we are, there are even you will tell me it's a lie. I will tell you certain revelations from God. You will say it's a lie. Why? Because you say it's not in the Bible. Now, you want me to... the Bible that was written by somebody who lived 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, you want to use it as a standard to measure God that lives in eternity. God revealed in stages. The revelation of God is like onions. If you peel out the outer layer, there is more to it. If you peel out the other layer, there is another one. It's like that. That's how God unfolds. He keeps on unfolding. There is no end to his knowledge, to the knowledge of God. So let's stop saying that you are African traditional worshiper. You do not worship that Jesus. Christianity is a Abrahamic religion, and this and that. No, you do worship of stone is not your property. Oyinbo don't do one before you. If it was good, they not go throw away. Worship of trees. Oyinbo don't do one before you. If it was good, they not go ever throw away. Anything you see a white man claiming as his own, you know say that thing is good. Christianity is not even a white man religion. Don't you see the way they have cornered it? They have systematically cornered Christianity, and they have put it in their own pocket. They have whitened Jesus. They are Europeanized Jesus Christ. They removed the capital of Christianity from Israel to Rome. They everything. Oyinbo, anything way good, Oyinbo go take them. They will come to Africa. They will look at the thing that you are rubbishing. They will pick it and leave you with the one that does not benefit them and benefit humanity. So you are still claiming that the slaughtering of goats and you know, I see some people, they will show some Jewish rabbi and how they are using chicken to do their hair like this, and they are saying even Jews are just human beings like you. Some of them are still living living behind. Some of them are still living their ancient religion just like you. It doesn't make the fact that a Jewish man did it doesn't make it good. Just like some of us, when we see this Brazilian worshiping Olokun, they will be proud. Hey, even Oyinbo, they are worshiping Olokun. Our Africans, no, for God's sake, not be new thing. The fact so Oyinbo they do doesn't mean say now just individual. The thing is how many percent of the Oyinbo doing the same thing? That's what matters. How many percent of them are doing it? So the worship of all these deities started long time ago. Not be your property. And it's not, and anybody that is stuck in the past is not progressing in any aspect of life, whether it is in religion, whether it's in education, whether it's in technology, science, or whatever. If you're stuck with the past, you are not progressive. I'm talking now, you are watching me. Nokia 3310, no go let you take watch me. Why? Because that is in the past. Nokia 3310 does not have, it doesn't even have Java. It is technology now. It doesn't even have Java technology, not to talk of Android or iOS technology that we are using to. So, the world is moving forward. The world is progressive. So, religion is progressive. Even Christianity is progressive. Christianity is not static. Any religion that is static will die. It will decay. That is why people are living fetishes. They are living idolatry. People are saying they don't worship ancestral, because it's not progressive. It is not progressive. People will not embrace it. Even the present Christianity, the present day Christianity, that if they don't change it, it will die. If they don't grow from this level, it will die. Because our young generation, our youth, our children, they are asking questions that their parents cannot answer. They are asking questions that all the GOs cannot answer. They are asking questions because this new generation, they are getting wiser. They are reading the Bible. They are seeing some things that are not there that are supposed to be there. They are asking questions. And if you cannot satisfy them, you will lose them. In another 50 years, you will lose them. That is why you need to open your mind to revelation. Open your mind for God to teach you, to give you answers to the questions that these children are going to be asking you. It's not just enough to say, the Bible say, the Bible say. The Bible say, now somebody write down. He wrote according to his experience in his own time. God is also saying something today. God is still speaking something today. The canonization of the Bible actually is a disservice to Christianity, because after the Bible was canonized and compiled into that book, any further revelation was stopped. That doesn't mean God is still not giving revelation. God is still giving revelation. If I tell you what the revelations that are in this head and in this mind, this spirit, you will not believe it. But because if I teach you now, you say it's not in the Bible. But I don't care. I don't care, because I believe that when the time comes, I will teach who I need to teach, and I will teach who I need to teach, and God will bring who needs to listen. You understand? God will bring who needs to listen. That is it. So, my people, I think I don't want to. This is just the part one of the teaching. My next teaching, I will start with the animal worship and the worship of elements. So the worship of element, the worship of man, and how the whole thing progressed until the revelational religion, the coming of the revelational religion, and how man began to understand that there is a God up there, and how man started worshiping God, and how we are going to worship him better. So that's all we can take for today. I'm sorry for the hiccup, for the break in transmission. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I see you some other time. God bless you.
Now when you don't hear the message, let us know what you think for comment section. Just put on there what you think about everything where Uyi Osunde don talk for this message when you bring come today. And before you go, make you also help us share this video so that make other people for still listen to this message. Thank you for watching Dan ARG YouTube.